Hello everyone, welcome back. So it's Sunday night again, and this update's going to be a little bit different, and it actually starts outside the four walls of the workshop. So I'm excited about it, let's get into it. Okay, so someone needs to pinch me because this is seriously cool. Directly in front of me, as you can see, I have the Shane van Gisbergen SP Tools SBR Falcon. Now, it's the much younger sister car of SBR BA01, the Caltex Falcon back at in the workshop. And this car has just been restored. It is absolutely beautiful, and it's been restored back to its 2011 livery. It's a multiple race winner with Shane van Gisbergen behind the wheel. It won in Darwin in 2011, where Shane did that celebrationary burnout around the circuit, which was shown all around the world. But one thing that stands out in my mind, and I'm sure it stands out in many others, was this car and Shane's efforts in New Zealand, with Stone Brothers taking a win on home soil, Shane taking a win on home soil, and it's something that none of us will forget anytime soon, and it's one of Supercar's most iconic moments.
1 lap to go.
1 lap, exactly.
New Zealand's responding. Van Gisbergen's got the lead of the race. He's got 7 more corners to negotiate, and he's got a margin of 0.95 of a second.
This 21-year-old Kiwi, born in Auckland, came through the ranks and then delivered in style in the Australian V8 Supercar Championship. And they love it! They've waited a long time. No Kiwi driver has won here in Hamilton. We've had some awesome racing. We've seen the best of the best master this circuit. And right now, this youngster, who's electrified the sport, has them standing. He's held them off.
Still gives you goosebumps all these years later. I remember sitting on the couch as a young Ford fan yelling at the TV. Well, not young, but Ford fan. So the livery, as you can see, has been targeted around the Hamilton or the New Zealand event. So that's one good thing with this car. That's got obviously a lot of standout moments, but this one was one that really stands out as far as Supercar's history. So it had the Christchurch appeal sticker on the back of it. It's got a lot of little differences that were on the livery for the Saturday and the Sunday races. So it's something that's really cool to go with this car as part of its history. Now, other notable things about the car, it raced from Townsville 2009 all the way through to the end of 2012. And obviously with Shane van Gisbergen behind the wheel, there was no shortage of highlights. It did all the Clipsal 500s, it did Bathurst, it did the Gold Coast events with international drivers. The car has done a heck of a lot. And it's really interesting when you compare them to the cars that we've got in the workshop. The internationals and all the bigger events that this car's done obviously weren't around when the BAs and the AUs were running around.
Click down another one for Shane. He's now 7th. Oh, seriously, Shane.
Careful.
Of all spots.
Watch this. Check
Here we
this
go.
out.
Oh, look at that.
I'll bet they jumped to their feet at Stone Brothers when they saw this, or if they didn't, their eyes would have opened up pretty wide. Wild. It's wild. You know,
FG03 raced all the way through to the end of 2012, and if you remember, that was the point when the car of the future came in. So all of these cars were then on-sold or went through to the development series. Now at this point too, Stone Brothers did sell out of V8 Supercars. They sold to Erebus Motorsport, and Shane was tipped to retire, and there was a lot of news and articles around the sport at that time revolving around this car and Shane. Now, one thing, if you look back on from that 09 to 2012 era that this car raced, there were so many moments, and there's too many to pile into one video, but what things that stand out in my mind without even looking is the Gold Coast event where Shane was battling with Jamie Whincup late in the race.
don't make contact.
Down the front straight.
He's got him.
It's a duel for the lead. Whincup versus Van Gisbergen. The Kiwi against the defending series champion. This is an almighty dive into the chicane. And they make contact. Both of them go not done with yet at turn 4. Van Gisbergen keeps going. Keeps pushing. At maximum speed.
I have not seen a better closing stage of a race for a long time. As Van Gisbergen has a little get him a serve. He'll bump him here. He'll bump him, run him wide. He can't do it.
Wincome's going to hold on.
You remember the Sydney race, which was FG03's last ever main game race, where it had the issue with the medical car. There's just so much that went on in such a short amount of time with this car, and it's awesome that it lives on today.
Oh, crunch, and gears into the wall. Oh, and he's taken
The front starting from second, now leading the race.
Oh, you're kidding me.
He's managed to get the medical car.
Oh, I've never seen that.
So it's had a steering fail, and it's great. The medical car always follows the field. He would have got... Let's have a listen to Dave.
The crowd think it's funny. And Van Gisbergen stranded. Safety car
Here
out.
comes the medical car, which in a matter of seconds is in need of an aspirin. This is a Porsche, and all of a sudden, whack.
When FG03's racing career ended, it was sold directly to Terry Wyhoon and Image Racing. So it didn't go back to Stone Brothers or go on and race with other people. It went directly from Stone Brothers to Image Racing, and that's where it stays today. So little things like the stickers inside the car and a lot of the cage work and paint and a lot of the chassis stuff is as original as it can be. Obviously panels and everything over time all have wear and tear, but the car's presented as close as it can be to as it sat in New Zealand as far as the cosmetics go. Now this car is currently for sale. It's at auction at my105.com. The auction is running now and it finishes, I believe, on Tuesday, the 2nd of June. And I'm sure that there'll be plenty of interest in it. And it was just a really cool opportunity. And I'd like to thank Terry for giving me the chance to come down and have a look at it, because it's the first time I've really had a good look at an FG in the flesh. And one thing that stands out in my mind is BA1, although it's only 7 years older, Stone Brothers, just the development process was off the charts. You look at just everything in the car is just done so much nicer, and we all know that BA1 is a beautiful car as well. So if you're interested in the auction, I'll put a link in the description or in the comments. And yeah, I'm sure it'll attract plenty of interest given Shane Van Gisbergen's success in America and everything that he's done to date. His stocks have never been higher, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of interest from all around the world. So enough dreaming, I better get back to the workshop and get some jobs done. All right, so we're back in the shed, and yeah, just go back and look at BA1 after spending some time with the FG. And gee, it looks basic. Like you look at the steering wheel there compared to, you know, what the FG runs and the dashboard. It's only a 7-year difference between the two cars, but there is a massive difference in the way they look. You know, all the bar work, there's just so many differences. So it'll be interesting just to have a look and see exactly what was changed. And obviously the regulations changed as well, but there was just so many different ideas and different ways of extracting speed from a Ford Falcon. And Stone Brothers certainly did a good job of that. Even little things like you look at how inboard you are on the BA compared to the FG, you're a lot further toward the centre of the car. But yeah, really, really worthwhile experience. And thanks very much for Terry for letting us have a look. All right, so back to the BA and we'll get into it now. Okay, so things have gone a little bit pear-shaped here, to say the least. Now, you've been following the journey. I've been saying that there's a horrendous fuel smell in the back of this car, or a stale fuel smell. The fuel cell is empty, and we put 10 litres of fuel in it just to see if the fuel lift pumps were working and pumping okay. Now you'll see here, 10 litres of fuel in, activate the lift pumps. It's pumping fuel really well. Yep. Go on. Okay, cycle it again. Okay, cycle it again. Okay. So that side of the car is working okay, although it does need a fuel cell from a date point of view. It's out of date. Now you'll see where we're at as of now. I've got the tank out of the car and the high pressure pumps. Now if we come over to the bench, this is where it gets a little bit ugly. Excuse the mess I've got going over here, but this is the tank out of the boot, which you would have seen in previous episodes. And I disconnected the first pump from the bottom of the tank, and no fuel came out. So it would suggest that the tank's completely empty, and that's all been pumped out as well. Now, where things got a little bit confusing is I undid this line, which is halfway up the tank, and fuel come running out everywhere. And that's the fuel that came out. Now, that was a perfectly clean container when we started. Now that smells horrendous. You can probably just imagine it's up there with diff oil. Now, obviously, if no fuel's coming out of here, there's something blocking in the bottom of the tank, or there's some issue there. So I elected at that point, we've pulled the tank out of the car just to have a bit more of a look, because obviously what's gone through the pumps, what's been in these filters is where that smell's coming from. Now, if I lay this tank over and undo this bottom fitting, you can see there, it is absolutely blocked. Now, I don't know whether the fuel cell has delaminated at some point or something's happened. I'm having trouble getting the camera to focus there, but you can see the main or the reserve circuit of the fuel pot is completely blocked. Now, this discovery starts to explain why we're smelling that stale fuel smell in BA1. Now, the car, before it was stored or put into the museum 10 years ago, it had the fuel pumped out of the fuel cell, which was bone dry. We've discovered that. And what I think has happened is it's also been pumped out of this fuel pot, which is perfectly normal. It's been pumped out of the main circuit, and then you've got your reserve circuit. Now, if that's empty, and then you take this line off the bottom at the pump, no fuel runs out, you assume that it's empty. But what I think's happened is it's been pumped out to this level, and because this is blocked, that has been sitting for over 10 years with a lap or so of fuel in it, and slowly it's fed through that blockage and it's gone through into the pumps filter, and it's just clogged everything up, and it's made a heck of a mess. You can see, if I could give you a look inside that line as well, if I can get in the right light, it's horrendous. So it's going to be a big job. It's I think it was just an oversight that, you know, naturally you assume if there's no fuel coming out of there, well, there's not going to be fuel coming out of there. But so the fact that that's in there to start with would suggest that the fuel cell or something has been delaminating over time for it to fill it up with gunk. So the fuel cell will be probably knackered anyway. It is out of date. But yeah, there's another bigger issue going on. So we'll pull every single line out of the car, every pump, every filter, and we're going to have to start again right back through to the fuel rail. Obviously, you know, we'll clean injectors, get them serviced up, and start again. So in reality, it's what the car really needed anyway. But yeah, it's good to know that we have found that fuel smell. But as to how all that crap got in there at the beginning, it's just going to take a little bit more investigating. So a little bit of a kick in the guts to end tonight's video, but you know, you can't have, I guess, things sit around for that long and not have issues. One other thing I'll just quickly show you. We did mention in last week's video that this whole fuel pump bracket was rocking around everywhere. Thought the bolts were loose. It's actually completely broken. So that all needs to be welded up and repaired on that top side. The bolts at the bottom were holding it. So again, it's just a metal fatigue thing from pounding around the curbs all the years. So we'll keep chipping away here tonight. I'm going to go get rid of that because that stinks, and we'll have more for you soon. Thanks again for your support. Hopefully we'll have some better news for you as soon as we can. Thanks again.